Leuk dat je weer kijkt en vandaag ga ik in gesprek met Ian Graham. En we kunnen dit gesprek doen in verschillende talen. We kunnen het doen in het Engels, we kunnen het doen in het Nederlands, maar ook in het Frans. Ian spreekt het ook, maar Frans is waarschijnlijk een beetje moeilijk te verstaan voor jullie. Dus we doen het in het Engels. Welcome Ian.
Thank you. Maar ik spreek ook een beetje Nederlands. Nog niet perfect, zo misschien we kunnen een beetje Engels, een beetje Nederlands of een beetje Frans.
Oké, is ook leuk.
Ja, maar ik denk dat het minder pijnlijk voor jou dat we het in het Engels.
Oh, we do it in English. It's good for me as well, you know, because my English is sometimes when I hear myself speak in English, it's like, oh,
I think the
where
English,
did you learn this? But okay.
I could speak Dutch as you speak English.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited about it.
Yes, I am so happy that I met you in person last August. I bought this book, God is nooit te laat en ook nooit te vroeg, about 15, 16 years ago because someone talked about it. And I lost it for a couple of years and then it came back to me and I use it for my masterclass. Sometimes I open it and I read something about it. And last summer I was reading this in the sun. And then I was reading the back and I saw your photo and I thought, well, wouldn't it be great to have a conversation with White Bull myself? And then I was on the internet looking for you. And then I saw that you were living in Zutphen and I'm living in Lochem. And I was like, what the? How is it possible? And then we connected and we had a great talk. And
Wonderful. It was a real recognition. This is fantastic. Instant knowing.
yeah, it's like, okay, we have to do something now. And then it's right around the corner.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you are channeling White Bull. Can
Yeah.
you explain for people who don't know White Bull, who is White Bull?
Well, I'd hope I can answer it in a satisfactory way because I don't really know myself. He never talked very much about him. In the early days, the story I got was that he had incarnated as last time as a Lakota, an Oglala-Sioux, and he didn't have a special role in the tribe. And in fact, at the same time that I was developing this channeling, in the same group where I was, somebody was also channeling Red Cloud, who was the chief of the Sioux. And I was asked I asked Red Cloud, what could you tell me about White Bull? And Red Cloud's reply was, well, what we couldn't change, we accepted. That's what he said about him. So he had his own role in the tribe, and I think he was busy a lot with children. He spent a lot of time on his own, communing with the nature spirits, the elemental beings, his horses, children the same, how to be in touch with us all in nature. And the end came when he was killed at the massacre of Wounded Knee. That was the story I got. But and for me at that time, it was important to have some kind of identity for him. And because, you know, when he came into my life, I didn't know anything about this. I was completely skeptical, you know. I didn't have a spiritual bone in my body. And
but that's interesting. So how did this happen?
Well,
how did he come into your life?
Cut a long story short, I was living in London at the time, and I was in love, and it was a disaster again. And somebody said to me, well, why don't you learn to meditate? Maybe you'll find some calm and peace meditating. So I went to this place in London called the House of Spirit. Now, for me, a good Church of Scotland boy, this was a complete, you know, what am I doing in a place like this? And people were talking about past lives and entity possessions, and this was really quite scary for me. And I didn't stay for very long. I decided this was too much for me. So I started meditating at home. And then I got this voice in my head, and that concerned me because, as somebody once said, when you talk to God, it's called praying, but when God talks to you, you're probably psychotic. Well, maybe I'm going mad. And then I heard the name White Bull as well. And then I dismissed that also because I think my first record when I was 7 was a song called A Little White Bull, sung by a famous English singer. So that was all sort of dismissed. But the voice kept coming and giving me little bits of advice, which yeah, was useful at the time, but I was doubting it still. And my broken heart continued. And then somebody I knew said, "Oh, yes, the wife of a client of mine has just started channeling this Indian. It's really good." And I said, "Oh, Bill, come on, be careful. This is dangerous stuff. Hocus pocus. It can't happen. It's not possible, you know." "Oh no, it's good. It's good." So finally, I agreed to have a meeting with this entity who we call teacher, and I wasn't very impressed. It didn't seem to be very interesting or anything new to tell me. And for some reason, a few months later, I had another session with him, and this time he said, "You have to join my group." I didn't know what that meant either, but I'm a good boy. I do what I'm told. So I went along to this house in London, and there they all were, including two people who'd been in the group in the House of Spirit. And the first day we were there, we started meditating. And I was a new boy. They'd been together for some time. And as soon as I closed my eyes, I felt my face changing, like I was getting high cheekbones, like Indians had, and um, my hands got very big, and my body was filling out. And I was still smoking in those days. So this is 40 years and 36 kilograms ago. I've put on a bit of weight since then. But I thought that's what I was becoming in my physical form. And then so that we moved on, and then a few weeks later we were meditating again. And teacher, and then I closed my eyes, and again I saw this vision of an Indian camp. And then teacher began to speak from his medium, and he said, and described all the things that I was seeing in my meditation, like he was there with me. And oh, that one over there, that's my teepee, and those are my horses, and those are my children. Then I saw a big Indian standing under a tree. So that one over there, that's my friend Whiteball, and he's going to work with you. Well, I was completely amazed by that. I didn't know what it meant. Next week, we were meditating again, and suddenly this sensation came into my body, and this voice came out and said, "I'm Whiteball," and I couldn't stop it. And the rest is history. And I fought it like mad because deep down, I knew that moment, yeah, that's what I've come here to do. This is what I'm here to do.
Mm.
My ego had a totally different idea. I was thinking about all the implications of it and what will people think, and is this really real? Am I just deluding myself?
But don't you think that that's the contrast we need to really listen to that voice deep inside of us to say, yes, this is what I have to do here.
Yeah.
And the contrast of the other voices, the ego.
Ego, the skeptic, and everything. Yeah. I'm still very skeptical. I mean, when clients come, I say, "Well, I think you're very brave. I would never sit where you are." I'm quite skeptical.
But that's so funny because we are both skeptical. We were talking about that the first time. And then afterwards, after the session with White Bull, you said, well, okay, was it bullshit or was it White Bull? And I loved it because I'm also skeptical because I know when something is not true.
Yeah.
You know it in your bones when it's not true.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that well, Weibo has quite a fan club. I mean, I've been doing it for 40 years, and I'm told that many people's lives have been changed by it. But again, that doesn't really touch me. I never think what I'm doing is helping people. It's the last thing that crosses my mind. It's my job. I do it,
Yeah, but that's nice because White Book calls you the instrument.
Yes.
You are just the instrument. You just have to show up. This is what you have to do. And how does the personality Ian Graham goes along with that?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I never had a problem with that. Never had a problem with that because, yeah, it's true. It's true. And sometimes I think it's like if you go to a piano recital, you're a master pianist playing the piano. Well, people don't applaud the piano; they applaud the person playing it. And so Weibel's the musician, and I'm just the instrument. And my job in this is just to make sure, as an instrument, I'm properly tuned. Otherwise, the pianist is not going to be very happy. So, and that's one of the implications that's invisible to most people who come. But yeah, it is also a responsibility, great responsibility, to be finely tuned. And Whitehall has always said it's an imperfect means of communication because there's always the risk that my brain, which is the translator of his message, might get something wrong, and that could have serious implications for the person who's listening to him. That is, I feel that responsibility very heavily to be, and I can't say that out of, I think it's maybe 20,000 times or something that he's been through me, there hasn't been occasions where, my brain has misinterpreted the message and said something wrong, but I'm sorry, I apologize if that's happening, but that I'm human, so.
And how do you notice that you're wrong?
I wouldn't notice. It'd be the person who's sitting on the other end. what does it mean there? Or
But
that,
isn't that also then necessary for the other one?
it could be. It could be. I mean, they can make out of it what they will. But for me, I don't think of myself as a perfectionist at all. But if there is an element of perfectionism in me, it is I want to be an absolutely pure, true instrument. And that's always my prayer before I start a session, is to be a pure instrument.
And what do you do for that? What do you do for your, yeah, how can you be a good instrument?
Yeah, I've thought about this. I think one of the things is to have no sense of self-importance, not to want to take center stage. I think to have no judgments, to be completely non-judgmental, which I think I am more or less, because I've had all kinds of people come, all kinds of histories, and if there was some part of me who was judgmental, that could also easily color the message.
Mhm.
There's a story I like to tell about a very, very famous American channeler whose name shall not be mentioned. And I read a story about her, how she had met her twin soul, and it was perfect because he could look after all the Arab stallions she was buying with the money she got from her channeling, you know, and very, very famous. Then it turned out that this husband was gay. Her twin soul was gay. So her next public channeling in Hollywood with all these A-listers, the guy said that AIDS was God's punishment for homosexuality and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, this poor one was hurting that her beloved twin soul was gay, and that was coloring her message. So, I mean, these things can happen. So,
Yeah.
I do pride myself a little bit in really not being judgmental at all about anything, and I think that's important also to be an instrument like this, because it can so easily color
Mhm.
the message for people who may be sharing something that they're ashamed about, which they feel guilt about, and spirit doesn't have judgment and just loves anyway.
Yeah, but isn't that always also that life spirit running through if you are channeling or not, but you are channeling your purpose in life. So you have to keep your instrument pure, no
Yeah,
judgment, no gossiping.
absolutely. There's a lot of that. But at the same time, if somebody was to come and talk to a white bull that they were a rapist or something, you know, that could bring forth something in my own unconscious that would judge it, but maybe that's happened. I don't know. But anyway, for me, it's also very important to have no judgments about anything, and
Mhm.
people who come feel completely seen and heard.
Yeah.
It's one of the great qualities of white bull that often people tell me, oh, for the first time in my life, I feel truly seen and heard, you know, without judgment. I think it's the greatest gift one can give anybody, even as human beings.
Yes, but it's that for me it was already reading this was like, yes, truth, truth, truth. And when we had a conversation, it was truth. You know, that stands out. It's,
Yeah.
you feel it.
Well,
And,
thank you. Yeah.
You're doing this for 40 years now.
The longest relationship I've ever had.
Yeah. And how does your life, how was your life going? Was it, this was always the leading part? This was always, or did you have other ambitions too? Or was this, oh, I have to do this? Yeah.
I found what I wanted to do. I mean, I'd done lots of things, jobs. I was I had a very expensive private education. The plan was I would then become a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. But I ended up being a lift operator in Harrods department store in London. So, a big disappointment for the family. I had no interest in academia or anything like that. I actually wanted to be an actor. That was my first ambition, and that didn't work out, thank God. Um, so I did lots of jobs, and for a while I was very involved in this charity that my grandfather started in India. I was a fundraiser for that. I taught English to foreigners. I worked in shops. I did all kinds of stuff, and the question would always be, "What are you doing now, Graham?" You know, all my school friends were in universities and law. And then when I was 28, everything changed, and it happened exactly. Bible came into my life exactly on the week of my first Saturn return. in astrology, which is often a point of a turning point in one's life where something big happens. You get married, you die, or whatever. Well, I met White Bull. So it was written in the stars. You know,
And what did your family say about that?
very little, very little. I mean, you know, I was always a little bit the black sheep of the family, and I've been even more the black sheep of the family. My family have never asked me anything. They've not read the book. Nothing. It's just a no-go area.
Is it
Yeah.
too scared to go there?
Yeah, they're too scared. I mean, they're an amazing lot of people in my family, and they all have, you know, service as a central theme in their lives. But this is just too much outside the box for them.
I recognize that because in my family we don't talk about it either.
No, no, no,
The thing
no.
I do, it's like it's okay.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
do your thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, still now, well, the family's a bit less now. I've just got a sister, but she never asked me anything about my life. She's never asked me about my work, you know. And I just accept that. I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. It's just not her thing. But she does wonderful work herself in her own way. It's her life of service.
yeah,
This is kind of in the family DNA, I think. You know,
yeah.
everybody.
When it's in your in my family too,
Yeah.
service, being
Service.
there for others, always.
Service on my father's side and duty on my mother's side. So it's quite a heady cocktail, really.
Yeah, and that's difficult as well when you are in because you after when you were 27, White Book came into your life. You started right away with your sort of business.
Yes, yes, this was the
Okay.
amazing thing. I mean, I was completely wet behind the ears. I didn't have a spiritual bone in my body, but somehow he was able to find things to say, and people came back and they liked it. You know, it was so amazing for me.
So then you were in England, still in England, and then you moved to you went to France as well.
I went to France. I moved from London to France. But everything since Weibo came into my life, everything has just unfolded by itself. I haven't had to lift a finger to make anything happen. And I've had so many little miracles in my life that still I'm amazed. And I mean, I have my own stuff to work on, of course. He hasn't taken that away. I have my own process to go through. But in terms of the practical aspects of life, and I realize what makes it possible to do the work and to have a nice place to live to do the work, everything just unfolds perfectly. I feel almost embarrassed, you know, when I say what's happened to me. They say, "Oh, Ian, not another one of your miracles," you know.
But that's the personality Ian Graham who feels embarrassed because it's
But at the same time, I'm very grateful when I hear other people's struggles, which I don't have, and really touched by grace in so many areas of my life.
yeah. And so you have your business now. It doesn't sound like a business. It's like
Well,
what do
indeed,
you?
it's how I earn money. And that was a struggle for me also when it started, because when I first started, I wasn't charging at all because I did another little job. But and then I really enjoyed it. But some of the pleasure went out when it had to be something I had to do to earn money. And I think it's very important there's an exchange of energy.
Yeah.
I want people to feel indebted to me. But that still doesn't fit very comfortably with me. I'd love to make my income from, say, having a worldwide bestseller or something like that.
Well, you are going to write the second book.
Well, there is a second book also called There's Nothing Miraculous About a Miracle.
Okay.
Er is niets wonderbaarlijks aan een wonder. I think it is in Dutch, which was self-published. I want to do it. I mean, this one is you've got has been published in 8 languages. Interestingly, the one that sold best was in Russia. The rest of it
Wow.
sold out very quickly. But it's never really been available in English, and I'm just trying to find a way and the time and the means to be able to. And there's lots of new material to go with it. So, and this is one of the things I want to do before I die, is that Weibel's teachings are out in the world, and maybe the bestseller will come when I've gone, when I've died.
Yeah, but
But
then it's already. And what is blocking you to write it right now?
well, it's a strange thing that when I'm working as I do now, quite a lot with the individual channeling, it's such a different frequency to actually being creative and being inspired. If I go a few weeks, it has happened once. I had a chance to have a sabbatical. When I have 2 or 3 weeks of no whiteboard sessions, then the writing, the inspiration comes. But I can't mix the two. I don't understand why I can't, but I'm just blocked. I'm just blocked. I need space. I need time. I need not to be disturbed by anything else. I need to go off and find a place on my own to write. So it's strange because it's the same energy in a way. It's the same wisdom. But the channeling process with individuals and the writing process is a very different frequency.
Yeah.
That makes sense to you.
So you have to make some time now.
I have to make some time. Make some time because I've tried to make life interesting for myself also because I take tours to interesting places. That's nice for me. I love travel, so if I can arrange it that I can take people with me. So I used to do dolphin retreats in the Red Sea and trips to Bhutan, which was always very exciting. And now I do retreats on Patmos, which I absolutely love to do.
And what can you speak to that, to the retreats in Patmos, what you're doing?
Well, I have a special link to St. John, the beloved disciple of Jesus. It's always been there. And actually, one of the most amazing things that happened to me that really blew me away was very soon after White Bull came into my life. And I was practicing the channeling with this lady who was also channeling Red Cloud because we were new to it. The guides were new to it. So we used to give the guides a practice of using our physical bodies and so on. And one day I was going to channel White Bull for her, and suddenly I was taken over by this energy, this frequency, this love, and I thought, what is happening? It was blissful. It was overwhelming. It was moving. I didn't know what was happening, and suddenly a voice came out and said, "I am John, beloved of the Master," and that was it. And I was left in heaven for several days after to this energy. And Weibo has explained that at the highest level of himself, he is one with the energy of the archetype of St. John. So if you can imagine a spotlight, the source of the light is St. John. A little bit further down the ray is White Bull. Then 2 centimeters off the ground is Ian. What I'm doing when I'm channeling is I'm raising myself up in that ray to connect with the vibration of White Bull. And then when it's over, I go back down to being Ian. Sometimes, and I can never plan it, it goes a little bit higher. You know, people may be very skeptical about this. I am too, because, my God, am I deluding myself? But the feeling it leaves in my body is just amazing, amazing. It brings me to tears. So therefore, as Patmos is the island where St. John received the book of Revelations, the Apocalypse is called there. I went there the first time. They felt like I was coming home, and I want to share it with other people. So I take groups there. I've done so for the last 10 years or so. And Patmos is a beautiful island, and sometimes when people arrive, they step off the ferry and they say, "Ian, where have you brought us?" There's almost like an energy field that you step into. So that's one thing I really, really love to do.
And how often do you do that?
Well, I do roughly once a year.
Okay.
I'd do it more often if I could, but yeah, once a year. And
So you really needed to White Bull needed to know if you could channel him, so St. John could come through?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And he's appeared before. I mean, I have this, again, the skeptical me thinks I'm just deluding myself, but it's a feeling you can't just say it's nothing. It's so precise and so rare and so, yeah, I can't give words to it really. But when
No,
it's
but that's the most difficult thing, to give words to the formless.
yeah, it's absolutely but it's transcendent feeling for me.
But it's so funny because you often say you're skeptical, and that this is happening to you, that you are doing this work.
Me, you know, I don't have a spiritual bone in my body, and it happens to me, you know.
Yeah, same here. Got
Yeah,
the same thing. It's you can't explain it.
You can't explain it. You can't explain it. It's beyond words. It's beyond words.
Mhm.
And actually now, I don't know how it's feeling for you, but I love it when there are less words. I'm happy just to transmit in silence, just to
Yeah.
transmit silence. I think this is also feeds the soul just as richly as words. Some people want words, but I think words more and more get in the way of really feeling the truth. Do you feel that also a bit somehow?
Yeah. Yeah, I love to be alone.
Yeah, me too.
And I don't want to. It was funny because I re-listened to the channeling with White Bull, and then White Bull is talking, 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 and then he's asking something, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, that energy. There are no words. I don't know how it feels. It's just space what I feel, but I don't know anything else. I don't. There are no words. What you're saying. There are no words for when you are.
No,
It's
no.
difficult.
This is why I think White was emphasis a lot nowadays is when people say, "What am I here to do?" The answer comes, just be the presence. Be the
Mm,
presence. Presence doesn't need words, but it communicates so much. It uplifts so much. It's
yeah.
like, and people, as he always says, we're human beings, not human doings. And just to be content to do whatever's possible to find your own inner peace sufficiently enough that actually you stand in the world just as presence, a presence that represents love and truth.
Mhm.
It's contagious. It ripples out. Uh, but the benefit for yourself is you feel you can't smell like you can't smell your own breath, you can't smell your own presence, but you have to rely upon other people to say it if that's what you need. But um, you're in that stillness, you're in that alignment, and yeah, and it can be for people who just don't have anything specifically, obviously, in their life or work that's around spirituality or consciousness. Some people just have it. Some people just have it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, what is the difference between presence and charisma? Because charisma can also have an effect upon its environment, but it's a very different quality.
Very. Yeah. Yeah, that is, there are words behind it. There are intentions behind it. There is, yeah, presence is be who you are.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think the most extreme example I can think of the difference was, as I had said, my first job in London was working in Harrods, mainly on the lifts. But one day I was on the men's handkerchief department, in the men's department, and suddenly there was this kind of kerfuffle and action, and people were talking like there's something, and you could almost feel like a wave coming up the ground floor. And the next thing there in front of me was Liberace, the American
Oh
entertainer,
yeah.
dressed in a full-length white mink coat, diamonds on every finger. I mean, his mouth was like radiant diamonds. And then he moved on. But yeah, this is a man with charisma. I mean, he just sparkled like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And he was a great entertainer. And then sometime later, I was in London and I was looking in the shop window and I became aware of somebody else standing beside me looking in the shop window, but I couldn't see who it was, but I felt something. And I became rooted to the spot. And I thought, I didn't dare to look to see who it was. But there was something, some presence there. And finally, I tore myself away and I looked at her to see who it was. And it was Sophia Loren.
Who was it?
Sophia Loren, the Italian film actress.
Ah, okay. Sophia. Ah, okay. Wow.
And that was presence. And then I stood back and I watched a bit more. I mean, apart from being, I think, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life, but that beauty also came from the presence, but it didn't need words. And that for me was a way of distinguishing between the power of presence and the energy of
And charisma. Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's lovely.
yeah,
Yeah, because the other one is the Liberace is putting all his diamonds on to be someone, to
exactly.
be his image.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Which gives people a lot of pleasure as well. So
Yeah, but it's fun sometimes to dress up and to
yeah.
Be present. And what's then because that's, I think, the English language is so rich in words. We don't have that in Dutch.
Okay.
Because when you have consciousness and awareness, in Dutch, it's all bewustzijn.
Yes, yes, yes.
And now when I say this, it's like consciousness is bewustzijn and awareness is opmerkzaamheid. So you notice something in yourself. How do you, what do you think about those two words?
Well, self-awareness, yes. I think that's very important. But I think that, how can I put it? There comes a level of consciousness which you can't be aware of in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Transcendent experience. You can be self-aware in your behavior, you can be self-aware in your reactions, but sometimes you can't be self-aware of your own level of consciousness because it's indefinable.
Yeah.
You can only recognize it in maybe the effect that you are aware you have on the people around you. Yeah.
Yeah, so the consciousness is consciousness.
Consciousness, where you're part of something bigger than yourself, which there's
Yeah.
no explain. But awareness, self-awareness, is about one's attitude to oneself, to life, to others, to be one's authenticity, one's desire to be authentic,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just being an observer of oneself.
Yeah.
You can't observe your own level of consciousness. There's no measure for it.
No, because it's unlimited.
It's unlimited. It's universal. It's yeah. One can measure degrees of unconsciousness.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy to recognize, but that's a different thing. Maybe there's lack of awareness, lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
But to define oneself in terms of one's level of consciousness, I don't think one can do that authentically.
No, because that's a mind job. That's
Exactly. Where's the measure for it? Do you use it? Yeah. Is there
yeah.
some you measure somebody's consciousness? You only know it by the direct impact that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, you're not aware of it, you know. Is the rose, as why we would say, is the rose aware of its perfume? Can the rose?
Yeah, that's what I also loved in Bible when he said that.
Yeah.
When you're present, it's the perfume.
It's the perfume of the rose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indefinable, invisible, can't be bottled. It's just
It's
there.
just it. Yeah. When I started to after my divorce, I was looking for a job, things to do. I was already a coach, and then there was a lady nearby. She was helping elderly people moving from their house to a new apartment or something like that. And I said, well, wouldn't it be great to just get the scent of the house, you know, the smell of the house when you enter. My grandmother's, it was always some soup was bottling, you know, or a stew was bottling. And that's a smell when you enter a house. And I say, well, wouldn't it be nice if we could just capture the smell and put it in a new apartment so people will feel at home again? And I really made some research how to do that. Impossible.
Yeah. You can't buy sort of, there are no gift shops saying little bottles of
No.
deep smells like, like a
No,
perfume.
that's amazing how that works. But when you say that with the perfume of the rose, that's the presence, you can't buy it. You have to.
You can't contain it, you can't bottle it. No, that's
No.
true. Yeah. No, Bible's rather good in his metaphors, actually.
Yeah, he's amazing.
His English is far better than mine.
And yet you are the instrument. It's incredible.
Sometimes when I've heard what he says, I think, wow, Bible, where did you get that from? You know, I haven't been 40 years, you know. So he has access to all my passive knowledge. And he's far more articulate than I am. But then the benefit for him, he doesn't have to think.
No, that's amazing. And why do you think he picked you?
God knows. I think, well, I think of the woman, Helen Schuckman, who channeled the Course in Miracles. The one
Yeah.
was Why me? I don't believe in this stuff. I'm not interested in it. It's not in my anything about me that resonates with this. Why me? And the voice came back and said, because we knew he would do it. And I
Yeah.
think my strict upbringing to be obedient yes, being the good boy is what prepared me for it.
And
But
being a servant.
because there was something in me that was always going to meet that John energy at some point. And my grandfather, who was a missionary in India, his name was John, and he was known in India as the modern apostle of love. So it's kind of inherited as well. I make myself about it, but it's
Yeah, you were prepared to do that.
I was prepared for it. I was being prepared for it. Yeah. And it was
Without you knowing.
without me knowing. If I had known, I would have probably said no, but it had to come as a surprise. Dump
Yeah.
straight
Yeah.
up.
Gotta do it. You have to do the job.
Exactly. Here's a good job for you.
And be present in this job.
You present in the job, exactly. You can't do it half-heartedly. It has to be done with the whole being, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about you, that you also live the way you have to,
Yeah.
because this is life. This is what life prepares for you in this life, and
Yes.
you just have to show up. That's it.
Days of going out partying in nightclubs and everything. I mean, those days are over. I can't do that. Not that I ever did it really, but I have to live my life in a way that is commensurate with the energy of White Bull. I can't just be sort of I think I'm pretty down to earth and pretty grounded person.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a new lifestyle, and I'm aware I'm always thinking, "Oh, gosh, I mustn't be late. I can't stay out. I've got to be ready for work tomorrow. You know, I mustn't be tired. I must be clear." So almost automatically, one's life revolves around one's readiness to do the work, like an athlete lives in a way to be able to do the race. You know, it just goes with the job.
Yeah,
And
you have to prepare, and you have to. Yeah,
exactly. But
same here, and I
there's,
love it.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
there are so many compensations for it. And I have such a it's brought me so much, so much. So we have our moments, like any relationship, you know, when I threaten to resign or whatever. But
And do you also have a private session with him then?
no, no, no,
No.
no. He doesn't talk to me. He doesn't.
No.
This is one of my gripes, one of my things that I don't have access to him. But actually, it's good because if I did, I'd be talking to him all the time. My job is to make my own decisions, create my own life. But some years ago, I met a neighbor of mine, and she said, "Oh, Ian," she said, "I've just been to have a reading with a medium in Appledorn." And suddenly she said, "My God, there's a huge Indian in the room. He says he's called Weibel and he knows you." And Weibel gave the answers to my neighbor's questions through the medium. I thought, this is the sign. This is the sign. Now I know where to go, and I will be able to have my words with Weibel, my question from Weibel, and he'll be able to say to me, "Thank you, Ian, for your years of service." You know. So I went along, and the reading started, and nothing happened. And then she said, "Well, what do you do? I can't get a feeling of what your job is." I said, "Well, I'm the channel for Weibel. He visited you." "Oh, yes," she said, "it was amazing. This big Indian in the corner of the room." She said, "I'm afraid he's not here for you. Your relationship is business only." I was so angry.
I love that story. And that's the ego, the personality Ian Graham who thinks something of it.
Yeah, I would like to just to hear say, "Ian, thank you. You've been such an amazing instrument, you
Yeah,
know." I know
you're
nothing.
the best.
You're the best. You're the best.
And are there more people channeling White Bull?
Well, interesting. I have a German publisher, and she published both my books in German. And then, she said one of our other writers, she's also channeling Weibel now, and Weibel's asked her to write a book through her. I think, oh, Weibel, you know, am I not good enough, you know? But for me, the name Weibel represents a level of consciousness. Okay, the personality around it, but for me, it's a level of consciousness. He's a messenger of truth.
Yeah.
And there can be many entities also channeling that same message of truth, which may have a completely other name.
Mhm.
I don't think is that White was channeling through other people, but other people for sure are channeling that same level of consciousness with a different name.
Yeah.
Because there's a different medium, they'll have a different vocabulary, they'll have a different speciality, they will, whatever, it'll be different.
Because the instruments are different.
The instruments are different, yeah.
Mm.
You don't get the same music from a grand piano as you do from an electric guitar, yeah. So yes, it depends on the instrument. Yeah, that's how I explain that. And so when people ask me who is White Bull, I just say, well, for me, the name represents a level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the story that I told you at the beginning, but that's for me irrelevant. He's not talking about powwows and wampum beads, which you'd expect a Native American Indian to talk about. In fact, he doesn't refer hardly ever to that lifetime. He just said it was my last incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Not the most interesting, but that was my last name, so I just choose that name.
Yeah, it's logic as well.
Exactly, logic, yeah.
And have you seen in the last 40 years that the information White Bull is giving, is that changing?
Yes, it is. Well, I've changed.
Mm-hmm.
I've evolved, I hope. Therefore, that gives me and whatever is out there a greater opportunity to download things into me which I wouldn't have been able to do so before. So my own energy, I hope, has gone up a notch or two. Therefore, the level of wisdom can be higher or greater. But I was visiting some friends in Ireland, and they had their first session with White Bull over 30 years ago. And they brought out the little cassette tape of this recording. And they said, let's listen to it. And I was blown away even then. The wisdom was amazing. So there's always been that special White Bull quality.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, yes, it has evolved because the world has evolved, I've evolved, people coming have evolved. Therefore, he's coming forward with a relative consciousness or message to this time now.
But are you noticing that the level of consciousness has risen in the past 40 years?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the very fact that more people come now, because 40 years ago I was really a bit out on a limb, yeah, the fact that it was also nice is when I first started, 95% of my clients were women. Now it's 50% men, 50% women.
Okay.
Some more men who come in a week than women, and that's a great step forward, I think.
Why is that?
Well, because men are open to stuff in a way that they were not before. The rational mind goes on one side. Men are evolving also.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, because in the old days, women complain, oh, my husband, he's not interested in the stuff. I can't talk to him about it. And all he wants to do is to work and says, I've got to go out and earn money. Now women come to me and say, oh, my husband, he just wants to be in his room meditating. I can't get him to go out and get a job, and I'm having to do the work. So the roles have completely changed. I love these. Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interaction with you and the people visiting you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them I've known for many years, so they tell me their stories, and I mean, White Bull is my social secretary. I've made so many wonderful friends through him. I mean, you hear you and I talking to each other as friends, twice or three times or something. So we're friends, and so yeah, all the most important people in my life I've met through White Bull. I'm the one who's built the friendship. He hasn't sort of said, okay, this is your friend, but amazing people, wonderful people who've come. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I like. If people listen more and more to the spiritual DNA that we have,
Yeah.
that we can listen to why are you here and put the rubbish we put in our minds to rest.
Yeah.
And lean back.
Happening. I mean, people tell me stories of their lives and what they're doing, and I'm so moved often by the changes people are making. Example, I mean, quite recently, a man came in his late 30s, I think, married with children. And he said, I realized I'd taken the wrong path. I did what was expected of me. So I'm leaving my job, I'm divorcing my wife, and I'm going to step off into the unknown. And I feel sorry for the wife, of course, in a way, but is these kind of things are happening. People are really listening to what they really want now and not just sticking with what they've expected to do.
Yeah, and that's very brave and very
Very brave, very,
admirable to do that.
yeah, yeah, very brave. And
Yeah.
more and more people are doing it. And two great friends of mine are giving up their secure jobs in order to follow their heart.
Yeah.
Their wives aren't too happy about it, but they say, I have to do it. This is what's in me to do. I've got to be out there. I've got to bring out what is within me.
Yeah. And trust yourself, trust consciousness that everything will be okay.
Whether they're trusting that this is what they're called to do.
Yeah.
And it's a huge step. I admire them so much.
Mhm. And it's scary as well.
Very scary, very scary. But I know everything's going to work out for them. And already the signs are there. The magic is there, you know, if you just take that step,
Yeah.
dare to follow your truth, follow your heart, things will work out for you.
I love it.
I love,
Let's
you
I
know,
love it when you say that. And I think that is an amazing end to this wonderful conversation.
already, oh dear, okay.
Because what can we say more than to listen to your heart, listen to the voice calling you,
Yeah.
and
And that's the Bible's message to parents. Tell your children, follow their heart. And the message to parents to yourself, follow your heart. Be an example to your children of what it means to follow your heart and be happy.
yeah, but we are so conditioned in making our choices about money, about security, about safety.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
And
to
then
break out of that
yeah,
those chains is
yeah.
yeah, it can be difficult.
The Bible would say, let the membrane that protects the rosebud break, that the flowering can happen and the perfume can be released.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed myself greatly.
Yeah, thank you very much as well. And I will put your website down here so people can book a session with White Bull or
You're
get to
very,
know you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or come to Scotland or Patmos or Bhutan or wherever, you know.
And Bhutan, is it also on your website already?
I haven't done that one yet because I think I'm probably going to go at the end of this year, taking a small group at the end of this year to Bhutan.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. I'll put that on the website soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you very much for being here, being present here.
thank you. I'm honored to have been invited. I hope I've said something that's of value and interest to you.
Of course, because you were present.
Thank you.
Oké, en jij ook weer dankjewel voor het luisteren en graag tot de volgende keer.
Tot de volgende keer.